What's up, everybody? Another wonderful Monday night at Chewin the BBQ Fat. Man, I'm so excited about tonight's show. We have got a heck of a show lined up for you tonight. I've been waiting for the season to get over so we could have some of these roundtable conversations, some information going out. But guys, I'm really excited. As you know, we're going to be talking about pork tonight. I've got the top three guys that want in pork and KCBS, so I'm thrilled to death. But before we get into that, I want to talk about the contest coming up next weekend, the GBC Throwdown. Go ahead, sign up. I know there's a lot more teams in it. It's getting closer to that 35 teams from what I understand with teams that haven't signed up yet, but they're signing up. So if you're looking to start the season off early, let's go ahead and get started in Cumming, Georgia after the big KCBS banquet this weekend coming up. I'm pretty sure all three of our guests this weekend are going to be going to Oklahoma. So we'll get into some of that, but ask questions, get ready. Like the page, share the page, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and we'll get started. But I know there's some big things happening already. So we're going to get into it. World Foods is going on this week. I know a lot of people have been watching World Foods. So Chris Schaefer is on tonight. We're going to get in there. We'll talk a little bit of World Foods with him. But let's get on and I'm going to bring on Paul, Chris, and Lee Hickle. Lee, I'll give you a second to get ready, but here we go. Is Paul. Paul, how you doing today, buddy?
Man, I'm doing good.
You are the man. I think you are the champion, right?
Just barely.
Unfortunately.
Chris Schaefer. And Lee Hickle, how you doing, my man?
I'm good.
Yes, thank y'all all so much for coming on. I know every one of y'all are. Paul, you're getting ready to go to Oklahoma. Chris, you just finished up practicing your dish for tomorrow's. And Lee, you are the busiest man in barbecue. So I mean, it's one of those deals where it's just a lot of fun. Did I say that right? Did I say that wrong, Paul?
What is that? I missed it.
Look on the face.
No, yeah. I was just wondering if Lee was actually in Texas or where was he at?
Who knows?
I am home. I'm in my
You're at home
right now. I'm home.
Lee's probably pulling a trailer to New York and back for the fun of it.
I will be in North Carolina the week after Shawnee. I'm going back up to get my new barbecue rig.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I'll just leave it over there.
Lee gave me some terrible news the other day about his big truck. You've all seen the truck he drives around, the biggest truck in barbecue. And Lee, what's going on?
I got rid of it. So I bought a 2022 F350. I ordered it 3 months ago, and it finally came in. So it was a sad day this past Thursday to get rid of my truck. But hey, they gave me $9,000 less than what I paid for it, with 100,000 miles on it.
Wow.
So I'll take it.
$9,000 wouldn't buy them tires.
No, but I only paid $9,000 for the truck for 100,000 miles, so it's not a bad deal.
Yep.
Awesome.
It's gone. It's gone.
It's gone. All right. Well, I'm going to get real quick, Lee, while you're talking, to let everybody. I know everybody knows who you are. Introduce yourself. Tell everybody what you've been up to this year, and we'll go from there.
All right, Brian, thanks for having me on the show tonight. I'm Lee Hickle with Red Mule's Badass Barbecue out of Sinton, Texas, and as well Aransas Pass, Texas. Again, I'm the pit master at Red Mule's Badass Barbecue. This is my first year to transition into KCBS from Texas IBCA, and I did 42 cook-offs from January to October 31st, just to see if I can do it, and it was a pain in the ass to do it. It was very hard to do.
And you did it.
I did it. There was 4 Texas teams that really hit the road. LC Barbecue, Chicken Fried Barbecue, me, and Texas Smoke Whisper. We hit it hard this year, and we all finished pretty well in KCBS. But I was fortunate enough to where I could go out on the road and do this. And do I recommend it for everybody? Not as hard as I did, and Phil and Bill and Kit, but at least, go out for a month, take your family. At least I traveled 23 states. Not that I cooked 23 states, but I passed through and cooked in 23 states. And just to see America, travel around the forests, the scenery is just amazing. So we get to see what Paul lives in up in Tennessee. you know, what Chris lives in up there in Kansas, wherever he lives. It's just beautiful, beautiful country. So, yeah,
You know,
that's what I've been doing
Kansas.
this
You know
year.
that city of Kansas, St. Louis. You know.
St. Louis, you know, they're side by side.
Close enough, right?
Yeah, so that's what I've been doing. And again, thank you for having me on the show.
Lee, thank you, buddy. Chris, go ahead and wherever you're from, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody where you're from and what you've been up to, man?
Yeah, I'm Paul Keltner with Rooters and Tutors. No, I just wanted to be pork champion for a day. Chris Schaefer, Heavy Smoke Barbecue out of St. Louis, Kansas, as Lee would say.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know what to say, man. I'm dead tired.
Where are you at right now?
I'm sitting in a hotel room in Dallas, Texas. We got here Thursday, got ready. We cooked BC or a CBA competition on Saturday, and we cooked the World Foods Eat Barbecue on Sunday. And we made finals. So we reserved grand yesterday. We got to cook the finals tomorrow at noon. So I'm tired. And then I got to try to find chicken and head to Oklahoma.
There you go. Perfect. So did you final in the Eat category or the CBA category?
The Eat category. CBA was a real learning experience for me. You got to do half chickens. And day
Pretty
one,
simple, isn't it? It's pretty easy, right?
No. So Lee, you'll laugh at this probably. So the day before the comp, I was practicing, and everybody's making fun of me for practicing. And I cooked a 3-pound chicken, and the way I cook it, it took like an hour and a half to get done. So on the day of the comp, I cooked a 4.5-pound chicken, and after an hour, I temped it, and it was 175 degrees in the breast, and I was like, "Oh, we are not gonna have a good day." So she went in the Cambro for about 40 minutes, and then I sauced it and I turned it in, and I got second to last. So I didn't finish last, but I finished 13th.
To Texas.
Yeah, I got 6th in ribs and 7th in pork. Finished 13th, but yeah, I got beat up in chicken pretty good. I did. Kind of funny. So I got a comment card. And in CBA, it shows you the judges, and it says the comment. And Judge 6 on chicken said that it needs to be sweeter. And then Judge 6 on chicken, literally the next comment said too sweet. So the same judge said it was too sweet and that it needed to be sweeter. I don't know how to do that. If you guys have an idea, let me know.
It's one of those sauces that we carry. You know, we'll have to talk about that later.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. Well, man, so I can't wait to see you. I'll follow you tomorrow. Are you gonna go stream live tomorrow during your cook? I know a lot of people have been doing that. Yeah.
I doubt I do. The World Foods has been going live a lot. You know, they haven't done a lot in the barbecue side where we're cooking at, but in like the kitchen arena inside, they go live quite a bit. And you can watch. I think Joey Machado has been going live some and stuff. So a lot of people have been going live.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think Aaron Leslie with Texas Oil Dust has been going live quite a bit too for awards.
Okay. Well, good to know. All right, champion. Paul Keltner.
Yep. Paul Keltner, Rooters and Tutors Barbecue, and somewhere in Tennessee this late in the year. I don't know what day it is or actually even where I'm at after I don't know how many months on the road, 4 or 5 months in a row on the road. Like Lee, you start to lose track of everything.
So how many contests have you cooked? And Chris, I'll come back to that question to you too.
I really don't want to think about it, but I'm probably hitting the 40 mark or so, I'm sure.
Wow. Chris, what about you?
Yesterday was 40, I believe. So I got the finals tomorrow and 2 next week. So I'll hit 42, I guess.
That is incredible, guys. And you know, that is one thing that is so interesting to hear y'all. And I'm looking forward to our conversation tonight to talk about pork and a lot of stuff that I want to get into is, you know, Paul, I know you won brisket last year and you said that your brisket changed from the beginning of the season to the end of the season last year. So I would like to talk a little bit about pork this year. And how much changing did you do, Lee? I know you were all over this country cooking. Chris, you came on strong. You came out of nowhere and got in there and almost won the thing. But Lee, I'll start with you. What did you do with pork? Did you change anything when you went from place to place, or did your recipes change throughout the season?
So I did make a little change when I went to North Carolina first of the year. Went to Zebulon, North Carolina. I got there on Thursday, and it was a Rufus T cook-off. And I went to a local barbecue restaurant because it's my first time cooking in North Carolina. I didn't know what to expect. I heard they like vinegar. So I went to a local restaurant and I polled a lot of the people eating barbecue on what they like on their pork butt. And every one of them said, hey, we like a vinegar-based sauce or flavor on the pork butt. So came time for day one. It's a doubleheader. I ran a vinegar base on the pork butt. I think I had like a first rib, second or third brisket, eighth chicken, dead last pork butt. That vinegar killed me. It cost me a grand champion. And Brad, of course, grand champion the first day.
Brad.
Brad,
He has a habit of that.
That guy, yeah, he can turn in trash and still win it, right? But he's just that good of a cook. So
he left and didn't even cook the eat category, and I was afraid he was going to win it.
He almost did.
He would have.
So on day two, I went ahead and went back to my original sweet with no vinegar, and I was able to walk on pork butt. So I learned that for me, stick with my Texas style pork butt. Don't go vinegar. Even down in Georgia, South Carolina, Florida, Mississippi, everywhere I've cooked, I quit running vinegar after that one bad experience, and I tend to walk a lot better without any vinegar. So don't do vinegar is my opinion for KCBS. I don't know about anybody else, but that's the only thing I changed to, and I quickly changed back to my normal Texas style injection and sauces and rubs.
I'm going to get back to that in a second, but curious. I got a question. So, Paul, I'm looking at down here. What did you? How did your season go? Did you do a lot of changes this year, or did you have to fight it like you did in brisket last year, or how did that work out for you?
We did tweak a little bit throughout the year, but it was really because beginning of the year we actually struggled a little bit in pork, and we was kind of running the same thing we did the previous year, but for some reason the taste. The tenderness was fine. We were getting good scores on all that, and most everywhere we went, just something was off on the taste. It wasn't like we were getting 6s and 7s. We were just getting a lot of 8s. So there was something missing there. And we got to tweaking just a little bit, and that wasn't going very well. And so we just said, screw it. We're going back to what we started with because we know that works, and let's just focus in on. I read through every note that I had, replayed every cook that I can think of. I was even going through pictures from last year of our boxes on pork, looking for little tidbits that I could see in there. Was it rubbed, or how heavy was the rub, and how wet did it look, and different things like that. Just trying to pick up a clue somewhere, and that's when it started coming back to us. When we just went back to what we were doing and just kind of focused in a little bit more. And I would say at least 3/4 of the year we ran the same thing.
And that's what worked for you.
Yeah, and I don't see me changing it much. I did there's two sauces that I played with, and there's something with those sauces I'm gonna play with a little bit more this winter for some other stuff. But Russ Landon has a sauce that he's gonna be putting out. It's Russ Landon is gonna put one out. It's called Hog Feathers, and then also the Memphis Barbecue Rub with Brandon. That Memphis Barbecue Rub is good, and it's I just haven't fit it into my rubs and injection to play just with it exactly right, but it's a good sauce.
Nice. All right, guys, I'm trying really hard. If you notice, I'm gonna try really hard to get some nuggets out of these guys. Chris, what you came on really strong at the end. Thought you had it. You missed it or you tied. I think you said the 11th place. Y'all were a couple off or whatever. But what did you do at the end of the season? Just come on so strong in pork.
If you go look at my scores, I was doing good pork all year long, really, and pork's always been my strongest category. And I don't know if I'm known for my pork necessarily, but like every turn-in day, that's the one that I count on. Like I know it's going to be good for the most part. Really, I just pop some wins at the end of it, and I think, these guys will admit too. Sometimes you got to get lucky, and so a lot of 3s and 4s won't win you Team of the Year. You got to get some ones. You know what I mean? So I won pork 2 of the last 3 comps of the year, and it took me from I think 6th to 2nd. But it's because I had so many good finishes. You have quite a few 1s and 2s, and you drop a couple 5s and 6s, you're going to be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point. I mean, you go back and look at just any of our scores, there's a lot of top 5s in there, but it's so hard to get that number 1, to get that max point, that it makes a huge difference. So I think all the categories were like that for the most part. Anybody could have snuck in there and won a couple of firsts and jumped up real quick.
Well, I know we're not talking ribs, but like for an example, the lowest rank I have for Team of the Year is ribs. I think it's 14th for Team of the Year, and I got more rib calls in the year than any other category. But I got a lot of 4s, man. A lot of 4s, 5s, 6s, and I've only won ribs once. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I got more rib calls than anything else, and I'm sitting 14th.
I think it's how you look at it. So it depends on what your goal is. For us, our goal, we just stumbled into pork Team of the Year, but for us, Team of the Year is where we're at. We're not really looking at categories. We've kind of progressed from that. We were there. We were, and there's nothing wrong with it. If that's your deal, you want to be a goal to be Chicken Team of the Year, that's awesome. It's a big achievement no matter what. But I think, like Chris was saying, you can have a ton of great calls, but not get that 1 or 2 call and not finish in the individual categories just because of what your goals are. And ours was Team of the Year, so we felt really lucky to kind of be there for the pork for sure.
Like I wanted to be Team of the Year for pork ribs. That was my goal, and I was doing pretty strong half the year.
Yeah.
It just seemed like I couldn't miss on my ribs. And then after you get so many 1st and 2nd and 3rd places, it's kind of hard to replace a 2nd. It's really hard. So it kind of plateaued out. And I mean, Phil Braden was 3rd and I was 4th, and I just never I couldn't drop a 3rd. I couldn't drop a 2nd. I couldn't get any more 1st. It's hard to get those every time. You can drop a 7th or 8th. Not easy, but easier than you could a 1st and 2nd to advance. So that's how Paul and I came down. It was anybody's game. Last weekend, if Paul would have screwed up somewhere in pork and I would have had 2 good days of pork, it'd have been a little different. But it's hard to drop a 3rd and a 2nd and a 1st when you have great teams week after week competing who can easily take over as well.
And you're winning tables. You're winning the tables. So it's really just a matter of hitting a table that's scoring high enough to finish over everybody. And that's normally the frustrating part.
That's where I came out of nowhere, because I had a good amount of 1s and 2s, but then I had a 5 or a 6 or something like that, and you replace those with 1s, you pick up a ton of points. Where Lee replaces a 3 with a 1, he's getting 50 points if he's lucky. So
right.
And I know this is probably off subject a little bit, but to piggyback off what Paul said, I always look at competitions like I'm a GC hunter, man. I don't care about my categories. Give me 4 7s and a GC all day long, every day. So, like, I've never chased the categories. And, if I wanted to cook smaller comps and try to cherry pick and chase the categories, I'd probably do pretty well. But I'm always looking for max points and big comps to try to win Team of the Year.
Well, speaking of that, I know you and Paul tied, right? 26-20, something along those lines, I remember. And I don't know if you were saying it before we got on the show or after we were, but you thought you had it won, correct? And then you realized that the points, the amount of teams matter when you're chasing points, right?
Well, there were 42 teams the first day of that double I was there, and then I just assumed there was 35 or more the next day, since there was 42 the first day, and the most bonus points you get is 35. So when I won that one, I thought I had Paul by 2 points. And then I get home, I'm talking to Drew Davis, and he goes, I think you tied. I was like, no, I didn't. He's like, I think you did. And I went and looked, and I was like, 33 teams there today. What in the hell? And so I go run the math, and I realized we tied. And then that's where I told you I was replacing a 5. Well, my 11th scores a 5th, and his 11th scores a 3rd. So he's going to win that tiebreaker, even though I'm the better pork cook.
Yeah, we're leaving. I'm trying to think of where we were at. Shelby. We were in Shelby, North Carolina, which Noel did a great job. I hopefully that contest can keep going. But we're leaving that contest after a double, after having a great host of Lee providing a feast and a mariachi band. That was pretty new and different for me, for Kansas City barbecue. So Lynn gets a text from Chris saying, hey, I think I just beat you guys in pork. So Lynn goes, can he do that? And I'm like, well, I guess. I mean, he's really good at numbers. He knows all this stuff. And she goes, well, that's a kick in the balls. And then so we got to looking at it a few minutes later, and we got to adding it all up. And I told Lynn, I said, no, I think we're tied. And so she got to look up the tiebreaker and everything. And she goes, should we tell Chris? She's like, no, we'll let him figure it out.
I do want to mention, and I hope the two of you realize this, that if Steve Hayden cooked 35 comps, none of us would be on this podcast right now.
Yes, no doubt.
That was Brian
I
Payton
texted Steve, I said, hey, man, I
earlier.
think I passed you. And he said, I only cooked 17 comps. I'm like, shut up, Steve.
That's awesome. You know, that's what's so cool about all this is the amount of teams that get involved in it. And that I love about the points chases, and I've really enjoyed watching this year because it seems like it was a great. I mean, Chris, I believe you ruined Slaps' chance quite a few times. I think there was a couple that he needed $1,000 and you got the $1,000 and he reserved it. Joe,
Dream Crusher.
He had to win 3 out of his last 4, and I won 2 of them. But I needed to win 3 to catch him and only won 2. So I was on a hunt to catch him, but I kind of helped block at the same time. So I feel bad because I really wish you to beat Brad.
Oh, this is awesome. So, Lee, you were talking about you went back to Texas-style pork. What exactly is this Texas-style pork you speak of?
So we use a lot of salt, pepper, garlic for our base. So all of my meats have salt, pepper, and garlic on it. So with the emphasis on pepper, not so much on garlic. So it's just kind of like a base root that we use over here in Texas, and it seems to be working. You know, it worked for all of us Texas teams. We all use an SPG on all of our meats, and it just seems to be one of our base roots. And it's just hard to give that up. You know, coming from Texas, that's just what we use. And it seemed to work in all the states I cooked in. So that's kind of when I say my Texas base, and our sauce as well. You know, I use a Texas base sauce. I'm not going to go into detail what it is. You know, I don't want to cough that up. You know, but it seems to work. So there is one thing I did change up, and I'll kind of go into this real quick on the pork. I did a cook-off, and I happened to judge the ancillaries on Friday night. It was my first time ever doing a KCBS judging on Friday night or any night. And so just talking to all the certified judges about pork, I brought up my phone with different boxes I turned in. I always do money muscle, bacon, and chunks from the money muscle. And so I was passing my phone around the judging area before any tournaments came in Friday. And I was asking all the certified judges what they see in the box. Well, they see pork. I said, okay, but what cut of meats do you see in this pork box? And nobody could identify bacon, money muscle, or the chunks coming from the money muscle. They're told to score it as pork. So now my blood pressure just perked up a little bit. And so now I have everybody's attention. There's about 24 judges in this room. I said, can anybody tell me where the bacon comes from? What temperature do we have to cook the bacon to? What temperature do we cook the the tubes tube? How about the chunks around the horn, the money muscle? Us as cooks have to dial in that doneness or tenderness and present this in the box. So if I were to put nothing but tubes in the box and y'all think it may be too tough, the texture's not right, because in their mind, they may be thinking it should be more like what a bacon should be. So they're going to ding us on tenderness because they really can't identify the cuts of meat in the pork butt. So I said, we have to cook these meats to a certain doneness, and they all have a different texture. So if we're putting money muscle chunks in the box and you think it should be pulled from a different part of the pork butt and it's too chewy or not tender enough, you may ding it because the doneness may not be right in what you think the pork it is. So I was kind of taken back that they don't know about the different parts of the pork butt, the tubes, the bacon, the money muscle, and the way it should feel in your mouth, right? So when I had a good conversation with 24 judges about different parts of the pork butt, I changed my box. I quit doing bacon. I quit doing the chunks. I went nothing but money muscle medallions. If they can't identify what a tube should feel like in their mouth, identify what the bacon should feel like in their mouth, the chunks around the horn should feel like, it's just pork to them. And now it's their interpretation what it should feel like. For the tenderness, you know what? I'm just going to give them nothing but money muscle. So I went to money muscle, and that's where I started getting a hell of a lot better scores. 2 rows of 4, and that was it. I'm going to give them one cut of the meat, and if they can't figure out what a money muscle looks like and should feel like, I don't know what to say. So I eliminated the bacon, the tubes, and the horn meat, and just went nothing but medallions. That was a big change I did, and that really helped my scores.
Wow, there you go. That's very interesting. Paul, what do you think about that?
Hang on. Hey, babe, put the SPG back in the trailer. Appreciate it, Lee.
Lee said SPG, but I think he mispronounced white label.
White label. So hold on real quick. Brian Payton wants to know what the best pork rub is and why is it heavy smoke white label?
Thanks, Brian.
We'll get you, Chris. I'll let you plug that in just a second. But Paul, what are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, I mean, you travel enough, you do enough of this contest, and there's different levels of judges. I would say does not mean that there's bad on a judge versus the other judge, but that's where it gets complicated. Is how do you appease judges that are more familiar with the meats they're judging and understand they do a little cooking on their own and kind of understand the difficulty and the different parts versus somebody who doesn't really cook that much. Are fairly newly certified, so you do have to weigh that in on what you put in your box. The good thing about pork, though, is there's a lot of parts you can fill around, and you can get really creative with it too. And as he said a little bit, you can be putting the same exact piece in there, cut different ways, and sometimes they might not ever know that it's the same piece. So for us, we're just gonna look around and see what's best that day, because for me, as much as we cook, just finding the meat to be able to do something like that is pretty hard. So it's week by week of what we end up putting in the box.
Real quick, I meant to ask this at the beginning because I'm sure it does affect a little bit. Tell everybody what you cook on, because that does matter. What you're going to be able to put in the box or not put in the box, I guess. So Chris, what are you cooking on these days?
I'm a drum guy.
Drum guy. All right. Lee? I
cook on a Sniper pit maker. It's an offset. It's an offset pit.
Stick burner.
Stick burner.
All right. And Paul?
Yeah, I cook on a Southern Q water cooker, which is basically charcoal and sticks.
Right. And with water, with a big
water in between it. Yeah.
So all 3 of these guys are cooking on different instruments to different smokers, and they're all right there together. right? So I think what I was going to try and say is the big takeaway on this is you can cook and be successful on any different smoker that you just figure out what you're on and go be successful. Because like Chris, you're on a drum. I'm sure you have a completely different timeline or procedure than these guys do.
Yeah. Smokers mean literally nothing as long as you're used to it. My buddy Brian with Mad Musk cooks on Traeger tailgaters. He's got 5 GCs this year and cooked the jack. Yeah, I mean, your smokers mean nothing. You just got to be used to them.
Right. Know what that smoker is going to do and know how to cook on it.
Yep.
Unless you're cooking in Marshall, Illinois, you got to cook on drums, right, Chris?
Hey, man. Drum country's real.
I got
Or Warsaw, Indiana, it's got to be a stick burner.
Oh, dude, Warsaw. Don't even go near it with a drum. You go to Warsaw with a drum, your house will burn down.
You know from experience.
Aaron Leslie's going to go hide your drums right now as he's watching from the parking lot at World Foods. So appreciate you for watching. Hopefully y'all are having a good time.
Who's that? Who's hiding my drum?
Aaron Leslie.
Oh, dude, Aaron's such a great dude, man. I was trying to build my rib platter yesterday, and I couldn't get like my ribs to sit right. I'm like, man, I got to sit them on the plates, and then they got to take them off there. And he comes to my trailer. He's like, well, just turn this thing over. And I'm like, oh, that's great. I'm like, well, now it slides around. His wife's like, I got some putty to hold it in place. And I'm like, all right. So I mean, yeah, those guys are great.
Whatever, right? It's another Texas guy, right, Lee?
Yeah. Yep. He's from Midland, Texas oil dust. Aaron Leslie.
Super good
Hell
dude.
of a guy.
Great guy. Got to see him and hang out with him at the Royal. It was a good time.
Hey, let me give him. Can I give him some props real quick?
Yeah.
So we had the barbecue league did this bourbon queue thing down at World Foods, and we served 400 racks of ribs in an hour and 20 minutes, and there were 10 pit masters. And Aaron actually, he said he'd help me out. He had some bad oysters and wasn't feeling good. And that dude stood behind me and sliced ribs for a straight hour and plated them up for me so I could schmooze people and hand them out and try to win. And all I did was lose to Johnny Trigg by 400 votes. But dude, Aaron could barely stand, and that dude sat there and trimmed ribs for a solid hour for me. So thank you.
He's a great guy.
Yep.
You know that's what's so cool about barbecue. The amount of good people in barbecue. It's very good. So Indiana, we've mentioned Indiana, and that has brought up a lot of conversations about smokers in Indiana. So
go drum, all drum.
Well, here's the thing, though, dude. I mean, I have a GC and a couple RGCs in Indiana, so it's kind of hit or miss. Steve Hayden's got his map of where like drum country is, and I feel like Indiana is like the state of uncertainty. So you never know how it's going to go.
That's right. All right. So the pork rule is coming out. I guess it's out now, or is it out, or where are we at with the new pork rule?
I think the invitational is going to follow the old rule, and then after that, I think they're rolling it out.
So what are y'all's thoughts on the pork rule? Paul, I'll let you start.
I don't know. What is the pork rule?
I don't know.
It has to be from the shoulder. It just has to be from the shoulder, no weight requirement.
Oh, I cook. I don't cook the little butts. I cook mostly whole butts anyway. So
Paul's been doing that for years.
Is Pop telling all my secrets over there?
I think he's texting Lynn right now.
Yeah, no, we don't. Yeah, we don't part butts. I get why you would, but it works in our cooker better to be a whole butt, so it doesn't bother us.
Yeah, same here. I go ahead and cook a whole butt. I kind of peel back the money muscle quite a bit where it hangs on by a flap just to meet the requirements. But once I get the color and 150, whatever, I cook it to 150-ish. I go ahead and separate it and wrap the money muscle
He just
separate.
serves it at 150.
Something like that. Actually, I gave it temp. I just cook it the color. I don't even know what temp it is. I just BS'd it.
So you can't go backwards now. Hey, babe, we're cooking pork. Money muscle's too long.
150.
An hour and a half at 300. They got a good
Hey.
color. They wouldn't get separated.
If you took them to 150, sliced them thin, and put them on a Hawaiian roll, you'd have something going.
That's $1 million turn-in right there.
Awesome. Well, Chris, I know you've had not a lot to say, but what are your thoughts on the pork roll?
Well, my thing is, I can assure you, I trim a pork butt like nobody else in the country, unless you've taken my class, and it gets pretty small, but I'm always over 4 pounds. So I'm not going to change what I do, but it would make sense to take a couple of money muscles and cook them just to see, but I don't know if I change anything.
Yeah, if it weren't for the bone, I'd be under 4 pounds. So mine are pretty small.
You just said you cook a whole butt.
I do, but I trim it down. All that 3 pounds goes in the trash. I leave a bone, fat cap, and money muscle. I got my 4 pounds right there on bone.
Nobody listen to Lee unless he says white label.
Hey, I've got some heavy smoke white label on my rig.
There you
and
go.
Black label. I've got it, baby.
Is that what you use on your nachos?
I'll pay you later, Lee.
You got it. I do have it. It's part of my arsenal. You got to have it. And if you haven't signed up for the barbecue league and taken Chris's little video, you should do it. It's a good brisket class.
Yep, and there's a brisket class, and if you haven't taken the master class, I'm just drew a blank, Lee. Where are you at?
Oh, Barbecue Champs Academy.
Barbecue Champs Academy.
.com.
Thank you.
The amount of resources that are out there now that are affordable just blows me away. I mean, you can sign up for the Barbecue Champs and the Barbecue League and win a comp within a month nowadays, as long as you just run your program and don't mess it up. I mean, it's crazy.
Right. Paul. So I know you're helping with us in the beginning of the year. What are your thoughts on classes? And how many classes do you try to take a year?
It varies. I don't take as many as I used to, but I'm still always looking for one that interests me. And but I mean, for a while, we were doing one a year. Now I know some teams do more than that, but we were doing one a year at least for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, I reckon.
And Lee, are you taking classes also?
Yeah, you should. Yeah, I think you have to kind of keep up. One a year, I think, is good. You just kind of keep up with who's doing well, and if they offer any classes, yeah, I think you should, just to update your arsenal, to see what's happening.
Yeah,
I mean, I did. I took Chris's class. Not that I use his entire recipes, but he has some techniques that I like. So yeah, it's worth it. Techniques can help you win a cook-off pretty easy, more than just recipes.
I agree. Chris, do you still take classes?
Yeah, I mean, I take class every year, and I'm going to say something that just sounds real dumb because classes are expensive, but I just enjoy taking classes, man. I like listening to the pit masters, hearing what they got to say, and there's so many. I mean, I kind of feel like a rookie in this thing. So I've only been cooking KCBS hard for a couple of years, and these guys have been doing it forever. I mean, I'm taking Kelly Wirt's class in February, and like that dude was legitimately cooking 30 comps a year when I was in high school. Like, how dumb is that? You know what I mean? So like, I'm sure Kelly's forgot more about barbecue than I'll ever know. And I've taken a boatload of classes, and some of them you come away and you're like, okay, there's a couple things here, and some you're like, that's a real eye opener.
Yeah, that's crazy. And Chris, while we're talking about classes, you've got some classes coming up soon, correct?
Yeah, I got one in Collinsville in December, just outside of St. Louis. It's just about full, though. I've only got a spot or two left. And then I got one in January in Colorado, which makes a ton of sense based on the weather, if you're asking. But that one, some good guys came to me and approached me about doing a class out there. And I got family out in that area, so it just kind of made some sense. But I'm thinking 25 for that one. I've probably got about 15 spots left for that one. So if I want to sign up in that area, get it done.
And how can they sign up?
HeavySmokeBBQ.com for both of them.
There you go. Lee, do you have classes also that you can share?
I do. I have the 4 meats: brisket, chicken, rib, pork butt. Keep in mind, it's not a KCBS class. It's an IBCA class. And IBCA, whenever I filmed the Barbecue Champs Academy, pork was an optional meat that we could do at a cook-off. But after in 2020, they went ahead and 86 the pork butt as a meat. So Pork butt is no longer a meat now in IBCA, but at that time I did teach it, and I got 5th at the Open in 2019 on the pork butt recipe that I ran during that class. So I felt pretty good about that. It's a solid class, and taking a class, I think it's worth it. Mine's $700, Chris is $1,200. Either way, free
650.
guys, 650. But you know what, Brian? I mean, Chris hit it on the head. It's good to take a class. It's 1 or 2 cook-offs that you're, paying for recipes, techniques, and techniques to me is what's going to win. We all cook good food. We just got to dial in that tenderness, and maybe one way Chris rotates his brisket better than I do, sprays whatever on it.
That's a given.
It's a given. It's just something. One more degree makes a big difference. So, like Rick Mell from Texas, We Dem Boys, he took my class and Corey Mike's class. Corey Mike's is from Temple, Texas, and he did an IBCA and KCBS on Barbecue Champs Academy. Well, mine is nothing but IBCA. It's whole chickens. And I think he cooked his first 12 cook-offs. He had 9 grands and 2 reserves and 1/3 just by taking from my class and Corey Mike's. And look at Robert Smith for Barbecue Champs Academy, first class barbecue. That guy has like 18 grands in CBA, 3 or 4 seconds and 1/3, and he teaches everything on Barbecue Champs Academy as well. So, and Backyard Steve Dotson up from West Virginia, he took Corey Mike's class, and just a few weeks ago, he nailed his first time going Masters from Backyard. He nailed a first place brisket up in Galax, Virginia. So classes work. Chris's classes work. Barbecue Champs Academy, the Robbie Rolls, Mark Lambert, mine, Corey Mike's, Joey Smith's, Robert Smith's. Take classes, what's it going to hurt? They're online. You can rewind, fast forward. You can learn a lot.
You think Robert Smith could teach me how to have more energy?
Hey, that guy, if he gets a 10th place call or any call, it's like it's his first time ever to get a call. He's so enthusiastic about barbecue. He loves barbecue, and he's a fun to watch when he gets a call, because we kind of get complacent, like we're expected to get a 5th, 4th, 3rd place call. If we don't, we kind of get a little upset, kind of kick the can a little bit. But Joey Smith and Robert Smith back home in Texas, when they get a 10th place call, they're as happy as if it were their first time ever to get a call. It's like they won a GC. So that's really how we should come back to barbecue, is just be so enthusiastic about, we got a call. Look at the field of the cooks we're competing against. Damn, I got a 10th place call. I'm so happy. But sometimes we get a little upset because we expect to have better. But
I can tell you,
yeah.
I got that rib call yesterday and got on stage, and he gave me a high five so hard, he almost knocked me off the stage. That dude is awesome.
He's awesome.
Hey, I did want to mention, I forgot, I got a class in February in Kansas City that me and Fergalicious are doing too. I forgot to mention that one.
That's right. That one's coming up too. And Paul, you're going to be helping me do a class, correct?
Yeah. Whenever you nail down the date there, I'd be happy to help.
I've been trying to take Paul's class. Paul's doing a class.
So the Winter Barbecue Store is doing a class to raise money for the Jarvis Foundation, so we can put on a class and put on a contest and give. Y'all all heard about that. So I've got Paul, Rooters, Tutors, Smoke Me Silly, Piglylically Incorrect, and Hold Your Horses all coming on doing one category. So that's going to be announced in the next week or so.
I assume you probably asked like 40 or 50 people before Wes.
Yeah, I did. Wes was very grateful and very I had to beg him, but it's all good. No, we're trying to and these guys are awesome. They're trying to help us out, and I don't know if Paul's ever done a class before or taught anything, so I feel very honored.
We've had people ask us, over the years, you should do a class, but I don't know. It just, I think we're just now kind of getting to the point to where maybe we felt like we could do a class and be something productive. I think that's anybody who gives a class, that I think that's kind of a little bit of a fear of, you want to present something or hopefully they get something from that. And I guess there's always been something in the back of my head going, nobody's going to want to hear what I got to say.
But they do. Brian Payton wants to know how much Oberweis chocolate milk to get Paul Keltner to do a class.
That stuff works.
That stuff works.
Chris quit bringing it to me, and my port scores went down. So,
that's right. Hey, I'm gonna tell you what, though, everybody does their flyers for their classes, and they put like, what's included in the class, like trimming and meat selection. If you do a class and don't put hat selection, I'm gonna be super mad.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And it would be hard for me to do a class, I would think, because my food is done before people wake up.
No joke.
4 o'clock in the morning, my brisket and pork butt are on the pit, and my ribs are on at 4:45, and everything is in the Cambro done by 7:45.
Lee's over there eating biscuits and gravy over there, where everybody else is just now starting to put their meat on. He's done.
He's done. Relaxed. He's chill. He's just like, what are y'all doing? I'm done.
I go back to bed. I'm back in bed at 8 o'clock, 8:45, 9 o'clock. I wake up. No, not really, but yeah, everything's done by 7:45.
It'd be great if you did a class start at midnight. It'd be hilarious.
So speaking of that, and the pork, since we're supposed to be talking about pork, what kind of rest time are you looking for? Lee brought that up. He's done at 7 o'clock in the morning with all his meat. So obviously
everything to me, this is me, and it may sound dumb to all you KCBS guys. I need a 3 hour and 45-minute rest for my brisket, pork butt, and ribs. I sure do.
I don't have a 3 hour and 45-minute cook.
Right.
I'm with you, Chris.
Yeah. My chicken, I don't let it rest. I do a 2 hour chicken up until it's time to box it and turn it in. But everything else, 3 hours and 45 minutes.
While you're cooking, I'm taking a 3 hour and 45-minute rest.
I'm sleeping through the night.
I wake up at 2 o'clock, start my pit, season my food. By 3:30, go back to bed. 4 o'clock, get back up and put my meats on the pit at 4 o'clock. But I'm done by 7:45. I'm done.
Well, that's awesome. Chris, how long the rest do you look for?
Usually about an hour, 15 minutes.
And if you don't mind, you don't have to tell. About approximately what time do you put the pork on?
Oh, I have no problem. I put it on at 7. I wrap at 9, and it's almost always done about 10:20, 10:25.
Are you up at 7 o'clock?
Well, Dad is.
Oh, okay. There we go. Now it's coming out. There we go.
Now, for all you people that think I don't get up early, I get up at 5. I season meat. I just don't get out of the trailer until about 6:30.
Okay.
And you'll tell when I get out of the trailer. You'll hear a monster crack, and you'll be like, Schaefer's
up.
Paul, what about you?
What time I put my meat on?
No, how rest time? How long do you?
For me, I mean, I don't really calculate into it too much. To me, I think I don't have any science to back it up, but I think pork is one of those you can rest it for a very long time, and it doesn't really hurt it. Matter of fact, it may help it some. But for me, mine is going to be resting for about 2 hours. It's just when it's done. I mean, sometimes it takes a little longer, sometimes it's a little less, but it's just when it's done.
On me roughly 6-ish, 7-ish, 8.
For me?
Yeah.
No, I put mine on. So I put mine on about 5:30.
5:30.
Yeah.
No,
when I first started,
I'm still speaking. My alarm's not even off yet.
When I first started, I only had 2 drums, and so I got brisket and pork done by 7, so that I could get them in the Cambro and cook ribs and chicken. And I mean, I didn't do as well as I do now, but I scored fine when I first started doing that.
Yeah, I think those are the 2 that you can rest a long time. So, what about meat selection? What kind of meat are y'all cooking?
I'm all prairie
fresh ribs and pork butt.
Prairie fresh, Paul?
I have cooked a lot of prairie fresh this year. When you can find it, it's not that readily available where I'm at.
So how do I find prairie fresh?
I bought a deep freezer in North Carolina, and I keep on the back of my porch. And whenever I go to Lowe's grocery store, I buy 2 cases of pork butts every time I go. So and they were like $43 a pork butt, for months. Now they're getting about 25, $30 now. They've come down, but you're dropping $1,100-$1,200 on 2.5, 3 cases of pork butts, and you run 4 pork butts every cook off. It got expensive real quick. So
Where did you get this
fresh
stuff
to
from?
me. Say again?
Where did you get them?
Lowe's grocery store. They're all over North
It's in
Carolina.
South Carolina. Yeah, Carolinas.
I thought you said
Hey.
Lowe's. Like,
Lowe's, yeah.
you
It's
guys-
like Lowe's. Mhm.
Are you guys cooking Prairie Fresh Naturals or Prairie Fresh Primes?
Naturals.
I've cooked both. We mix in some Cisco product in there too, but yeah, I've cooked both. I like the primes, but it's just harder to get good looking primes, I think, compared to the natural.
I'm
What about you?
primes on butts, but I'm naturals on ribs.
now, why is yeah, that's all right.
Well, honestly, just because I cook Prairie Fresh Naturals in the restaurant, so I can go through and source my ribs through everything I got there. And honestly, for how it's been explained to me is that they only run that prime line for a part of the day anyways. So a lot of prime ribs and butts are going through as naturals. And so I'm essentially just doing the same process they are in my restaurant. I can open up 8 cases of ribs and go find 4 racks and take them to a comp,
That's awesome.
Mhm.
Before we wrap up, if anybody's got any questions, please feel free to ask. I will ask them anything, and hopefully we'll get some more answers. What is, if you had to say one rub, and I'm not going to ask you, Chris, yet. If there's one rub that you would say is a great rub for pork, what would be a rub that you would recommend for people? Because we get this question all the time at Atlanta Barbecue Store. People always say, I want, just give me one rub that you can use that can be good, right? Like, and I'm sure y'all layer and everything else, but if you had to say what was one rub that you think that is a must use on pork, what would be that product?
Yeah, I know it's mine, obviously.
I'm waiting to hear Chris's
But
answer.
I'm gonna say white label because I think it's one of the more balanced rubs that are out there. I used to layer 4 or 5 different rubs on there, and I'll give you the recipe now, guys. I literally put a real light coat of Big Papa's jalapeno salt and a heavy coat of white label, and then I sauce with Blues Hog Smoky Mountain. I mean, I'm simple. I'm only a couple ingredients, but you a little bit of jalapeno salt and a lot of white label, and you're gonna score pretty damn well in pork and ribs.
There you go. Perfect. Lee, what would you say?
LC barbecue certified chicken fried Texas rib grind and Two Brothers rib rub. They're all 3 Texas-based rubs that are a must on your pork.
And
You
there's
gotta
other
use
stuff
those
out there other than Texas stuff, right, Lee?
No, sir. No, sir. Oh yeah, it's white label. Heavy smoke white
Yeah,
label.
he's just upping his total. I told him I'd give him $5 a mention.
That's it. But the big thing on my seriously on my pork arsenal is Texas rib grind certified from LC Barbecue, and no doubt Ram Benitez's Texas rib rub.
That is good stuff. I've tried that. I'm supposed to be getting it in. I don't know if Ellen's talked to him or not. That is a really good rub.
It's really good.
Bill's rib grind is out of this world.
That is. It really is.
Really good stuff. All right, Paul.
Yeah, Paul, what are you using?
I'm starting to believe that white label that Lee has in his trailer is that sample bottle that he got from the class a couple years ago.
I hand wrote on it white label. It's actually just Simdocs.
I think Rod Gray has some great products out there. That the Zero to Hero I think is just hard to beat on anything really, but especially pork. And I don't think you can go wrong if you just want to go one rub, Zero to Hero, and be done with it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
even like my pork finish rub is like 80% white label, but I even put Zero to Hero in my finish rub just because it's got such great flavor to it.
Yeah.
It's a great product. I mean, that was one that we recommend. So I'm glad somebody said that. So that does help us a little bit. But yeah, I mean, between that and I mean, SimDocs is always another one too, just because it's a
you can't go wrong with those.
Um,
And I do have white label and I do have black label, and you can't go wrong with those either.
So, all right, I know, Chris, we've done a whole show on this before, but real quick while we've got you on here, tell the difference between your white label and your black label, and if anybody wants to go to the Atlanta Barbecue Store and pick some up, tell them a little bit about
it. You cut out for a second there. What'd you say?
Oh, okay, I said, if you don't mind, tell everybody about your white label and black label, the difference, and let them know they can go to the Atlanta Barbecue Store.
Yeah, so Black Label was designed for beef. It's a pretty straightforward beef rub, a little saltier, a little savory, and it's great on brisket. I always just mix that with Bold and Beefy. Bold and Beefy and Black Label, they kind of live together. White Label was designed for pork, but it's kind of turned into an all-purpose. You can really use it on anything. I did burn-ins at yesterday for the World Foods, and I just literally put straight white label on my point and got first place briskets. So it's kind of turned into an all-purpose, and they're really good together too. So white label's a little sweeter, got a little heat, but I think they're both really balanced.
All right, great, thank you. Because I mean, it's always good to have the guys that develop these products come on and talk about it, how they were designed, what they're supposed to be used for. So we're fortunate enough to have Chris on with some of the best rubs in the market right now. And there you go. We've got a bunch of them. Brian Payne said, thanks for giving away his rib recipe, Chris. So I don't know what you did there, but way to go.
That dude can cook some ribs.
You know what? We're fortunate to have a lot of good cooks that watch this show, that comment on this show. And if anybody will ever ask questions, you will learn a lot. I mean, I know a lot of people have learned a lot from asking these kinds of people questions, and I do appreciate y'all coming on and talking about it. Last question: how many different? Lee told us earlier he's really pushing one money muscle now. How many different pieces of pork are you trying to put in a box, or does it matter? Does it all depend on the way the pork comes out that day? Paul?
Hey, yeah, for me, yeah, it just depends on how it comes out that day and what I can get that week far as meat. There's going to be, you cook as much as we cook. There's just going to be weeks you're not going to have the best looking money muscles. They're going to be deformed or small or flat, and they just don't cook out really well. So you just pork is one of those that you can adjust depending on how it comes out. Just roll with the flow.
Yeah. Chris?
I'm pretty much always going to turn in slice and pulled. I don't do bacon meat, but I'm always slice and pulled. So, though, like I said, the way I trim a pork butt and cook a pork butt, I always got a ton of pulled to use, and I'm usually going to nail those money muscles. So, I started cooking. I used to cook 2 pork butts. I started cooking 3 this year, just to give myself more options on the money muscle. I had a couple comps where, you think you cook it right, and you get into one money muscle that's tight, and you're like, damn, now I got to get 6 slices out of this one. So, just the insurance policy, the third pork butt.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, speaking of pork, I know the Big Pig Jig was this weekend, all pork here in Georgia. Have y'all ever thought about trying to cook something like that, an MBN contest?
I would love to. I'm at the point where some of that stuff is more intriguing to me now than ever. Just trying some different sanctioning bodies and just having a little more fun with it.
I'm with you, Paul. I still say next year let's go do it together. Let's get a team.
I would love to.
Anybody else? Chris, have you ever thought about doing that?
Yeah, I mean, I always want to try to cook other stuff. I was talking to Fred about the CBA and things, wanting to get down here and do some of those. But, when you're points chasing one sanctioning body, it's hard to do those other things. In 2019, I cooked like half my comps as SLBS and half KCBS, and real hard to make a points chase in either one when you're splitting time. So it's as fun as some of those things sound. I guess it depends on what your goals are.
Yep. Awesome. Lee, I know you came from IBCA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that piggy is above my pay grade right now. I wouldn't even know where to begin. I cook goat. I can cook goat, but not whole hog.
What all do they do with the pig jig? I didn't hear that. You cut out.
It's basically Memphis. It's an MBN, so it's whole hog, shoulder, and ribs.
Gotcha.
It was really cool to watch. I mean, I would love to go do it's here local. From what I understand, Paul, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I understand, it's just below Memphis and May. It's a pretty big MBN contest. Is that correct, Paul?
Yeah, it's from what Kerry has told me with Hold Your Horses, it's right there with it. You know, it's the less expensive option of Memphis and May.
Right.
But it's a very old contest, and if you win that one or walk the stage on that one, it's quite the accomplishment.
Yeah.
How many MBN comps are even left anymore?
There's not many, but I do feel like you're starting to see more and more coming, like doing doubles. I want to say there was a double a couple weeks ago. And
Yeah,
yes. And isn't there one in Illinois, Paul, that you go to with the Big Apple?
Yeah, Murfreesboro.
Yeah.
It is fun to compete and see the MBN side. It is kind of fun to be mixed in with those guys.
I can tell you what I learned at Murfreesboro, and Paul will second me on this. Heath Riles likes apple pie. Should I tell that story, Paul?
Sure. Yeah.
So apparently, in past years before Mike Mills passed, they'd always cook Mike an apple pie, and he'd sit down with his staff, and he'd have this pie. So Darren Worth had him cook 2 pies, and they gave one to Amy and the staff, and they decided to raffle the second one off and raise some money for a local charity. And it starts out, and I was like, man, I'm probably good for $100, you know. And some guy goes $100, like, all right, I'm out. And somebody's like 125. Somebody's like 130, and Heath Riles goes 500, and I was like, oh, okay. And they're like, anybody else? And somebody goes 600, and Heath goes, make it a cool 1,000. And I was like,
Wow.
oh, okay. And then he actually got outbid, but I learned that day that Heath Riles likes apple pie.
That's awesome. Heath Riles is a great guy. I feel like he's done a lot for barbecue. He's really continuing and trying to develop and work and do some good things. Just a good guy. I mean, that's another guy that in barbecues are just a really good guy. So
yeah, he's got some great products. He's another one that, I mean, you can just stay in his line and do every meat just with his different products that he's got out there.
Yep.
Couldn't agree more. Well, real quick, I know I kept y'all on long enough. Chris, you got to go to bed. You got a big day tomorrow. Chris, real quick, tell everybody how they can get in touch with you. All your different social media stuff, if you have it. Hear me? Paul.
Yeah.
Go ahead and tell everybody how they can get in touch with you if you so they can.
Oh yeah. We're on Facebook in 2 different ways under my name, Paul Keltner, or Rooters and Tutors Barbecue. We're on Instagram as Rooters and Tutors Barbecue, and or they can just call you and you can get them in touch with me either way. So
That's right. Paul's a great guy. Lee.
Red Mule's Badass Barbecue on Instagram. Lee Hickel, Hickel on Facebook.
Did I spell your name wrong too?
No, you're right.
Okay,
you're right. And barbecuechamps@canon.com. Buy now. What are you waiting for?
That's right. Chris, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Awesome.
Yeah, so HeavySmokeBBQ.com. You can get my rubs on there. We're on Facebook and Instagram, Heavy Smoke BBQ. Don't spell my name like Brian. You'll never find me.
No. I am terrible.
I think he had like 12 F's in there or something. I don't know.
Oh Lord, I saw the post, and like I said, we have one of our friends is doing our social media, and she's doing an incredible job. I mean, I don't know if anybody's noticed here lately, but our Facebook is doing a lot better. And I told Ellen, told her who all was coming on, and apparently it didn't get transferred right. So I do apologize for that, Chris. And but
the funny thing about it is I have a buddy of mine. He's the best man at my wedding, and he spelled my name wrong for 30 years now. And he's the one that commented on your post and said, I thought I was the only one that could spell your name wrong.
I saw that. I was like, oh. But no, this is
that was the best man at my wedding. He's just spelled my name wrong our entire lives.
Well, good. Well, it puts me up there in good company with you, Chris. I'm glad we can, put you up there, put me up there with that level then. But anyway, y'all, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for spending time with us tonight. Next week we're going to do another category, and just you'll be on the lookout next week, and you'll see where we're headed next week. Still trying to get the best teams, and if you look at it, the top 10, it's a lot of the same teams sprinkled throughout. So we're going to do what we can to try to mix it up if we can. But y'all have a wonderful night, and we will see you next week on Chewin the BBQ Fat. Thanks a lot.
See you guys.